The Loire Valley of France is often called the Garden of France, a region overflowing with beauty, rolling vineyards, fairy tale castles, and towns that look like they belong inside storybooks. But in this picturesque paradise stands a fortress that tells a much darker tale. Rising 7 stories high, towering above the countryside, is the Château de Brissac, known ominously as the Giant of the Loire. At first glance, the Château de Brissac seems like something out of a romantic painting. Golden stone, elegant turrets, and sprawling grounds filled with orchards and fountains. But beneath the beauty lies a sinister past, one that has earned the castle a reputation as the most haunted residence in all of France. Behind its ornate walls lurks a story of murder, betrayal, and a restless spirit who has been wandering its corridors for over 400 years. The Green Lady. Her legend is so famous that even locals warn travelers not to linger in certain rooms after dark. Some visitors claim they've heard her mournful wails drifting through the halls at midnight. Others have sworn they've seen her spectral figure, tall, veiled, and dressed in green, hovering by candlelight, her face twisted in a horrifying way. But who was this woman? Why does her ghost still haunt the halls of Brissac centuries after her death? And what truth lies hidden in the blood-stained history of this towering chateau? Tonight, we will unravel the story of France's most haunted castle, the history that shaped it, the murder that cursed it, and the sightings that continue to terrify visitors to this very day. Before we dive in, let me ask you, where are you watching from tonight? Drop your country or city in the comments below. I love seeing how far our haunted history family reaches around the world. And if you be brave enough to journey with me into the dark heart of France, as most haunted castle, don't forget to subscribe and join our growing community of ghost seekers. Now, dim the lights, let the rain sounds soothe you, and let's step into the haunted halls of the Château de Brissac. The Château de Brissac was not always the towering 7-story colossus we see today. Its origins stretch back to the 11th century, when it was first constructed as a fortress to guard the Loire Valley. For centuries, it stood as a symbol of both power and conflict, passing between rival lords and kings as wars and feuds carved scars into France's history. But it was during the late 15th and early 16th centuries that the chateau took on the grandeur it is known for today. François de Brissac, a powerful nobleman, rebuilt and expanded the fortress, turning it into a lavish palace fit for royalty. Its halls were lined with paintings, its ceilings adorned with ornate carvings, and its cellars stocked with fine wines from the valley. Yet behind this splendor, something darker simmered. For within these elegant halls, a story of passion, jealousy, and brutal betrayal was about to unfold. A story that would forever stain the castle with blood and ghostly legend. The tale begins with Jacques de Brissac, a powerful nobleman who inherited the chateau through marriage. His wife, Charlotte de Valois, was the illegitimate daughter of King Charles VII of France. Despite her royal blood, Charlotte's marriage to Jacques was not one of love but of political convenience. Their union was meant to strengthen ties between noble families, not to nurture affection. But Charlotte, young and spirited, soon grew restless. Jacques was stern, often absent, and more devoted to hunting than to his wife. In the silence of Brissac's cavernous halls, Charlotte found herself drawn to another man, Pierre de la Vergne, a huntsman employed at the chateau. Their affair, whispered about among the servants, soon became the castle's most dangerous secret. One fateful night in 1477, Jacques returned to the chateau unexpectedly. Suspicion gnawed at him, and when he entered his wife's chambers, his worst fears were confirmed. There, in the flickering light of a single candle, he discovered Charlotte in the arms of her lover. What happened next is a story that still chills the blood. Overcome with rage, Jacques seized his sword and struck the couple down in a frenzy of violence. The halls of Brissac rang with screams as Charlotte and Pierre were cut down where they stood, their bodies left broken and bloodied on the cold stone floors. But Jacques' fury did not end with their deaths. According to legend, he ordered the bodies hidden deep within the walls of the chateau itself. Servants whispered that their corpses were sealed away in secret passageways, or bricked into chambers where their restless souls would never find peace. It was after this brutal act that the hauntings began. Soon, visitors and residents alike reported strange occurrences. At night, the sound of muffled sobs echoed through the stone corridors. Candles flickered and went out as if smothered by unseen hands. Some even claimed to see Charlotte herself, draped in a flowing green gown, wandering the halls with hollow eyes. Over time, her spirit became known as La Dame Verte, the Green Lady. But the most terrifying detail of her apparition was not her emerald dress. Witnesses described her face as horribly disfigured, her eyes hollow sockets, her mouth a gaping black hole, a ghostly reminder of the violence that ended her life. Jacques himself was never able to escape the shadow of his crime. Though he maintained his position of power, it is said he was tormented by visions of his murdered wife. Some believe her ghost drove him to madness, haunting him until the end of his days. Centuries have passed since that bloody night, but the legend of the Green Lady remains at the very heart of Château de Brissac. To this day, those who stay in the castle report hearing footsteps pacing outside their chambers at night, or waking to the sensation of being watched. And those unlucky enough to encounter her ghost say her scream, high, hollow, and filled with anguish, echoes in their dreams long after they've left the chateau. But the question lingers. Is the Green Lady merely a tale born from jealousy and murder, passed down through the centuries? Or is there truly a spirit trapped within these stone walls, forever bound to the site of her violent death? What makes this question even more unsettling are the modern encounters, accounts from guests and tourists who claim to have met the Green Lady face to face, and it is these chilling testimonies that we will now explore. The Château de Brissac may be steeped in centuries of French history, but for many, it is not the grandeur of the tapestries or the elegance of the banquet halls that lingers in memory. It is the feeling, an unseen presence that seems to follow, a chill in the air even on the warmest summer day, and the whispers that seem to seep from the very stones themselves. Guests who have stayed at the chateau tell stories that mirror one another, each adding to the legend of La Dame Verte, the Green Lady. They speak of footsteps echoing in the hallways long after the household has gone to bed. These steps are not the brisk, firm strides of a servant or the delicate pace of a guest. They are slow, deliberate, almost dragging, like someone burdened by sorrow. One guest, a historian who visited the castle in the mid-20th century, recalled being awakened in the middle of the night by the sound of fabric rustling just outside his door. When he opened it, the corridor was empty. Yet the sound continued, moving slowly away as if someone in a gown was brushing past the walls. He followed it until it stopped abruptly in front of a sealed doorway, a wall where no door should be. Another account comes from a couple who spent the night in one of the grand guest chambers. Around midnight, they awoke to a sound that chilled them to the bone, a woman weeping. The sobs were faint at first, then grew louder, echoing through the chamber until it seemed the unseen mourner was standing directly beside their bed. When the husband lit a candle, the sound ceased instantly, and the flame flickered violently before being snuffed out by an invisible breath. But the most terrifying encounters are those where the Green Lady herself is seen. Witnesses describe her as tall and elegant, her gown shimmering with a ghostly green hue as if woven from mist. Yet when they dare to look at her face, the illusion shatters. Her features are not those of a noble woman, they are hollowed, destroyed, and twisted in eternal anguish. Her eyes are often described as empty sockets, her mouth a gaping wound, frozen in a scream that never ends. A tourist from England once claimed she saw the Green Lady while exploring one of the chateau's lesser-known corridors. She had strayed from the guided tour, her curiosity leading her down a dim hallway lined with faded portraits. There, standing at the far end, she saw a woman in green. At first, she thought it was part of a performance staged for visitors. But as she drew nearer, the figure turned, revealing a face so ghastly that the tourist staggered back in horror. She swore she could feel icy fingers brush her arm before the figure vanished into the wall. Paranormal investigators have also tried to uncover the truth. Recordings taken in the chateau's cellar captured faint voices, one distinctly female, repeating what sounded like a name. Others claim to have seen strange lights darting through the hallways or felt sudden cold spots in rooms with no open windows. The staff, too, have their stories. Some refuse to enter certain chambers alone, especially after nightfall. They tell of doors opening on their own, curtains drawn back by invisible hands, and mirrors fogging over with no explanation. One caretaker admitted he once heard a scream reverberate through the chateau when no guests were present. He searched every floor but found nothing, except the faint smell of iron, like blood, lingering in the air. And then there is the legend of the tower. Guests who climb to its upper levels sometimes report seeing a woman staring down at them from the window. Tall, in green, her face hidden in shadow. Yet when they enter the room, it is empty. The consistency of these stories, passed from generation to generation, has given the Château de Brissac its reputation as one of France's most haunted sites. For some, they are simply tales to thrill tourists, but for others, they are proof of something darker, that Charlotte de Valois' spirit never left the halls where she met her bloody end. And if the Green Lady still roams the chateau, what does she want? Is she seeking vengeance for her untimely death? Is she mourning the love that was so violently torn from her? Or is she forever trapped, cursed to relive the horror of that night in 1477? The answers remain elusive, hidden in the Chateau's stone walls and in the silence of the Loire Valley's night. But in Section 4, we will step beyond the testimonies and into the broader legacy of Brissac, how this haunted fortress became not only a historical marvel, but also a shrine to one of the most enduring ghost stories in Europe. Today, the Château de Brissac stands not only as the tallest castle in France, but also as one of its most mysterious. Rising 7 stories high, with more than 200 rooms, it is often called the Giant of the Loire. From the outside, its golden stone walls and soaring towers paint the picture of elegance and aristocracy. Yet for those who step inside, there is another layer entirely, an atmosphere that cannot be explained by architecture or age alone. The Green Lady has become inseparable from the identity of Brissac. Her story has woven itself into the very fabric of the castle's reputation. Guides who lead tours through its ornate chambers speak in hushed tones of Charlotte de Valois, the unfaithful wife whose murder stained these walls. Some recount her tragic tale as though it were folklore, while others lean closer to whisper that she still lingers, and that even they have seen her. What makes the legend so compelling is not only its gruesome origin, but also its endurance across centuries. Most ghost stories fade with time, lost to history, or explained away by science. Yet at Brissac, the accounts have remained steady, generation after generation. From 15th century whispers among servants, to 19th century travelers' diaries, to the modern testimonies of tourists and paranormal investigators, the pattern has never broken. The Green Lady persists. Even the Brissac family themselves, who still reside in the chateau, acknowledge her presence. While they host elegant events, wine tastings, and guided tours, they do so under the shadow of her legend. Guests who spend the night often leave with stories of their own, strange sounds, vanishing figures, and that indescribable sensation of being watched. Some visitors, eager to capture proof, have left with blurred photographs showing vague green shapes. Others refuse to speak of what they saw at all. It is this coexistence between grandeur and terror that makes Brissac unlike any other castle in France. On the one hand, it is a jewel of the Loire Valley, a monument to centuries of power and prestige. On the other, it is a tomb, a place where love, betrayal, and murder left a scar so deep it may never heal. But perhaps the most unsettling truth is that the Green Lady is not bound to a single chamber. She has been seen in the grand hall, the bedrooms, the chapel, even in the staircases that spiral endlessly through the chateau's towering structure. Some say she appears most often to those who linger alone, caught in silence, as if she is drawn to solitude. Others claim she seeks out couples, her twisted face a reminder of the betrayal that ended her life. And then there are the voices, low, indistinct murmurs that seem to follow visitors from room to room. Many leave convinced that they heard her whispering, though they cannot recall the words. Was it a warning, a plea for release, or a curse that still binds the chateau in her grasp? For centuries, the people of the Loire Valley have avoided speaking her name after nightfall. Even today, locals lower their voices when the subject arises, as though acknowledging her too boldly might summon her from the shadows. So, is the Château de Brissac simply another jewel of French heritage? Or is it something more? Is it a prison for a spirit caught in eternal torment? Or is the Green Lady a reminder of how love, betrayal, and rage can linger far longer than flesh and bone? The answer may never be known. What is certain is that those who visit Brissac often leave with more than photographs. They leave with questions that gnaw at the mind long after the castle fades from view. And when night falls in the Loire Valley and the chateau looms against the horizon, lit by the faint glow of the moon, some say you can see her still, watching, waiting, her hollow eyes fixed on the living who dare to enter her domain. So the question remains. If you found yourself walking alone through the halls of the Giant of the Loire and you heard the slow drag of footsteps behind you, would you turn around?